Today I'll try to simply summarize all previous conversations. Let's see how it goes. Hi. Today I'd like to take an intermediate stop and try to summarize simply all previous conversations. Let's begin with our individuality and the boundaries of our self. I called this the paradox of psychology. On the one hand, we are all unique, subjective beings outlined by our body and the surface of our skin. We all have unique genetic code, a one-timed life story, and every moment in our lives is a singular junction with infinite possibilities, some of which in our control. On the other hand, we are completely sustained, held and contained by the world around us. Let me try and depict that. Let's say that we are this round circle. First of all, we are part of the inanimate world. Let's represent it with the sun. We live in gravity, there's mass, movement, laws of physics, laws of chemistry, the moon is cycling, high tide, low tide. We are part of the inanimate world. Alongside that, of course, we are part of the biological world, of the ecosystem. Let's represent that with a flower. We need to breathe oxygen created by plants. We need to drink fresh water. We need to nourish ourselves from the world around us. We need good probiotic spheres in our digestive systems. We are part of the biological ecosystem. We are also part of society and culture. The relations in our lives. Let's depict them, let's say, with two people holding hands, with a heart. We have relationships in our lives, with family, with friends, with people we love, with our communities, but we also have relationships with social organizations, with the governments, with the spiritual and religious frames of which we are a part, workplaces, and also the language we are using, the symbolism, the art we are seeing around us, advertisement, ethics, morality, all of which guide us, put meanings into our lives. So all of these environments are containing and holding us. In terms of the boundaries of ourselves, actually we dissolve into all of these functions, like scaffoldings, holding us. Because apart from us being individuals, we are also air, we are also water, we are also a part of the discourse in our societies. So the boundaries of ourselves are less individual and are more collective and environmental in those ways. Now, let's move from here to our psychological distress, to symptomology, like depression, anxiety, lack of meaning. I understand those symptoms mostly caused by failures and breakdowns in the holding and the containment we receive. Let's say in the relational world, when we are traumatized, abused, or hurt, or when some misfortune is happening in our relationship, something is less held in our lives. This can happen in the social and cultural realm. Let's say when we are being manipulated by politicians or by economists or by the media. And this, of course, can happen with the ecological system. Let's say when we are not nourished good enough, or with the ecosystem falling out of balance. And of course, this can happen with the inanimate world. I mean, trees can crush and the meteor can hit us. So when we have these gaps in the way we are held and contained, these are the places where our suffering and discomfort, psychological discomfort, appears. Now, when we understand that, we can realize that some of the change that is needed is to heal, or maybe to build new places and new functions by which we are held and contained in the world, in the physical world, in the biological world, and in the social and cultural world. Now, in the scope of Syntegration, I am looking into our psychology, the way we are a part of these environments, and mostly on the process of the evolution of our psyche. Let me say something about the evolution of our psyche. The word evolution mostly is addressed to the world of biology. We have two organisms, animals, single-celled, with a slight difference between them in an ever-changing biodiversity, competing for their fitness to an ever-changing environment, biological environment, and also the inanimate environment, like climate and other aspects. Now, one will be more fit, and the other will gradually disappear. And this biodiversity is changing all the time. Now, this set of ideas has been used in very important ways in our social and cultural realms as well. Because we can have different structures, like different ways to govern ourselves, or different economical systems, or different spiritual or religion systems, and different ways we can use media and language, which are competing between them on their fitness to our psychological structures and to the world around us. So this is very important. What I'm suggesting with Syntegration is something that I have never seen before, is the evolution inside our psychology. In a few words, we have different constructs in our psychology. We have fantasies, imagination, patterns, axioms, drives, instincts, all building our psychology. Now, we have an evolutionary competition of fitness between different structures, different contents in the same structure. Let me give you an example. Let's think of fantasy. The fantasy that the early Homo sapien could have is very different from the fantasy possible to the Neolithic, the agricultural person 5,000 years ago. The content of the fantasy, the scope of the fantasy. And these fantasies are very different than the ones we can have today. The same to defense mechanism, the same goes to structures and patterns in our psychology. Now, the environment, the ever-changing environment in which these psychological structures are competing to their fitness is a psycho-social eco-environment. Everything is changing all the time, including our psychological constructs. So, focusing on that, I'm trying to look at the evolution of our psychology. For that, first of all, I'm attempting to look at the evolution of the universe of which we are a part. In the past lecture, I've talked about 3 special singularities. Let's depict the history of the universe, beginning 13.7 billion years ago with the Big Bang. This is the first special singularity, the appearance of matter. With every new special singularity, we see a new mode of existence, new laws of nature, and a binding rule of existence binding them together. The second special singularity is the appearance of life, approximately 4.5 billion years ago. And the third special singularity is the appearance of consciousness, our human consciousness. I put it 80,000 years ago, though this can be debatable. We'll look into that in future conversation. Now, with these special singularities, we can see the three aspects of our life: the appearance of matter, the appearance of life, and the appearance of consciousness. And this is one of the bases on which I will try to understand the evolution of our psychology. I see this process of disintegration as an introspection, a private, individual introspection and a collective introspection. In the process of self-knowledge, we come to discriminate between the more subjective and personal and the more collective, objective, outwardly caused phenomena in our lives. Now, these insights must lead to action. Some of the action is a personal psychological process, but some of the actions are actions in the social and cultural realm and actions in the ecological and biological realm. In order to build sufficient scaffolding and containment to ourselves and to the systems of which we are a part, because many of the relations and the dependencies we had have become interdependencies in our evolution. So in future conversations, I will look at ways to make these changes more accurate, and I will talk about the directions I'm thinking about, because we must admit that it seems that a fourth special singularity might be just around the corner. We cannot imagine it yet, but maybe there is something we can do to make it more beneficial to ourselves and the environments around us. So I've tried to simply summarize all the conversations we had until now, and we'll end here today. Thank you very much for watching. Please make sure to press like, subscribe, share, comment. Let's walk together. See you next time.